Yeah, we're exploring topic today. Look beneath today's event. Typically we have a child behaving a certain way and we react to it. And it's not anything different that the child is behaving. When child behaves differently, we are surprised. But then when it is a repetitive behavior, he doesn't clean up, she doesn't listen, she doesn't do the homework, that is when we react to the event. And you will typically see this is a pattern. There's typically the same patterns repeat. So when you look at it, this parenting happens at an event level, like event by event. I want my child to wake up early in the morning. I want my child to come home, eat, and do their homework without creating any fuss. I want them to go to bed early. These are all events that we're expecting children to be doing without much behavioral issues. But then things are repeating every single day. So when we want to heal it, typically healing happens at a pattern level, even for ourselves. If you want to heal, it's typically when you begin looking at a pattern that has been repeating and then questioning as to what might be happening underneath this. I shall give you two incidents. One case where this girl lost grandmother first, lost her aunt next, lost her uncle. They were all living together. And then her mother. And now she's two girls, actually, two daughters. They had to live only with grandfather and father. The older girl took up the charge of cooking, cleaning, whatever in the house. Older girl got married a few years ago now, a couple years ago. The younger girl has to take charge. She's very quiet, very withdrawn, doesn't create a fuss for anything, and doesn't know very much to cook anything either. So she'll do minimal required for father and grandfather, but very quiet. And so quiet, grandfather, he's a very good friend of my dad's, and grandfather is worried as to why she's so quiet, why she doesn't talk anything at all, why doesn't she complain at all. But that's all, that's where it stops. Now going one level beneath is exploring, was she quiet right from the beginning? When did she become quiet? Now, what event triggered her pattern of withdrawing and becoming quiet? Is something that one level beneath, one level lower is what we need to go if we want to really heal the situation. And being quiet doesn't seem to be harmful. We would rather have our children be quiet and withdrawn than be very aggressive and loud and things like that. Either ways, it's something that we need to be concerned about. And second is another girl, about 12 years old. Now she's gotten into pre-adolescent already. She's going through a lot of maybe her own pains, her periods, whatever. But then the family has been not very settled. Father does not have a stable job. Mother had a job, but then she quit because she wanted to take care of the kids and ailing grandparents and all of that. So now the income is minimal, budget is tight, and everything that she has been asking for, they'll say, we'll get it later, we'll get it later. Now she can't wait anymore. Now she snaps at everything. There is no vegetables in the sambar, she snaps back. More vegetables, snaps back. Mother does not know what to do. So you could see a lot of aggressiveness in the girl, where she is tired. It's uncertain. When will dad ever earn? When will there ever be no money problem? And there is also fear coming in now. Will I be able to even go to the college that I like to go to? She is academically good girl, right? So again, looking beneath a little bit, rather than trying to say, my girl is just adamant, she does not understand, she's grown up now. That's what mother says. She's grown up now and she should understand the family situation. We are all struggling so much. Maybe rightfully so, but she's still a child. So somewhere we need to look at these issues. If you can imagine an iceberg, we always say it's tip of the iceberg. The problem we see is only the tip. There is humongous amount, 90% plus amount underneath that we don't see. It's not that we cannot see. Once you recognize these patterns, when does this child withdraw more, or when does this child become aggressive more? Of course, maybe you can talk it out. Mother has the capability of working in the second case. She can always go back to work. It comes with a cost, but yeah. So typically, when I begin reacting to what has happened, then there is apparently no solution. There will only be more gaps. But I, as a parent, can become curious. What has been happening? What is underneath this? How big could this iceberg be? So, any event that happens today could be a messenger, could be telling me something to look deeper within. Because children just don't explode because of one thing. Even this first case study where this girl lost significant members of her family, four people, and one of it is her own mother. It's not easy to digest. It is too much. And the girl is probably about 18, 19 right now. And this passing away from grandmother has been happening for last 12, 13 years. So the girl was 6, 7 years old when this whole thing started. Right? So just looking, understanding there's a lot of things that have led to this particular behavior right now is where our work begins. Rather than I getting exhausted, I getting irritated. I mean, that is what children are expecting of me as an adult. Can you understand me? Now, how many of us won't complain that my mother should have understood me a little bit more? I wish this teacher did not do this to me, right? So that's where we are at right now for ourselves. What is it? Because in the first stage of child development, children need rhythms, children imitate us. In the second stage, from 7 to 14, they need us to be strong, loving authority. No, they want me to be an authority, not a disciplinarian. Disciplinary is fine as long as there is flexibility and uh, it is told, it is explained, and it is both of us agree to that. They need a lot of that. Otherwise, it's like how the neurologists say, when the nerve cells fire together in a habit forming is that they fire together and then they wire together. They form, it becomes one neural path. Otherwise, they were all scattered to begin with. But now a certain action that I keep doing again and again and again, it becomes a path. Just like how we form a footpath in a grassland. One time you walk across a grass, there is no trail left. But the same path I take several hundred times, there is a permanent path. The grass would not even grow there. Something like that happens. When these patterns are formed, it is the child knows I'm not going to get support. Nobody is going to explore within me. Nobody is going to ask me anything. So the best way is to just shout it out and at least get my way. And look at your own the events that we create. Why are we creating it? Now, some memory is there. He's not going to listen to me, so instantly I get angry, I feel frustrated, I have a headache, whatever that is. So we kind of chase that drama. You know, patterns are happening, events are dramatic, and we chase the drama. And this growth happens in the quiet. So growth is happening in the patterns, good, bad, otherwise. So it's important for me to ask what happened before this event. Not 5 minutes. 5 minutes will help. Perhaps 5 weeks before, 5 months before. Maybe happening from years. The first case study I gave you, the girl is probably was sad when the grandmother passed away. But we didn't notice because it's all normal, everyone is sad. And then aunt passes away. And suddenly there is a void in the family. We didn't talk much. Uncle passes away. Uncle and aunt were younger than her own parents, so they were still very young. They were probably in the early 30s, mid 30s, something like that. So then, when an event happens, when she withdraws, has this happened before? And then you can trace back, yeah, every time, this is in one family. Her grandmother from her mother's side also passed away. So has this happened before? And then what is she trying to communicate to us through this behavior? She's like, I'm tired of handling deaths, separation, rejection, maybe. What is she trying to communicate? So every time this situation recurs, there is a purpose. I need to find that purpose for the child. And then I understand I'm missing your mom. If the dad can come around and say, I am missing mom, I miss my mom. Brother and his wife, yes, they have a son also. And also the whole family needs a grief therapy. But then we begin to soften. We say, okay, everybody is aching here. Maybe I'm not just covering it up, but we speak it out. That is when the growth in the right direction begins to happen, because someone is looking at the true cause, right? So if the child feels heard, if the child feels visible, if the child feels that there is somebody I can rely on, then there won't be many events. At least the number of events that are happening will reduce, the intensity will reduce. I may throw a fit of anger, but then I can recover quickly. I may not as often get angry. So this requires a daily practice, daily practice. First of all, for adults to become aware. Then this question, what's happening beneath this? What's happening beneath this? What happened before? Then what is my child carrying with her or him? Because any of these patterns the child carries, there is going to be a outcome not so great for us. Performance, academic performance drops, social interactions drop, you know, and they don't like their siblings, they don't like anybody visiting home, they are reluctant, they cannot think independently, they become dependent. So many things happen, right? So those are also indications. So the events happen because they demand our attention. I mean, that's why children are misbehaving also. So now that pattern is what I need to become curious about, because that curiosity changes everything. I don't get stuck, because I'm also stuck in one of those patterns. So I need to become curious of my own patterns, then try and help my children recover from the patterns they have been trying to live. because that's all they know as of now. That's their coping mechanism. So look beneath the event and things will open up for us. Good luck.